Hey there, Saints. Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotional for you this Wednesday. It's Ash Wednesday if you're watching this on February 22nd. And I want to start with another reading from Sarah Arthur's One Year Daily Grind. This one is about spiritual disciplines, so it's very appropriate to begin the season of Lent. It's easy to beat ourselves up about all the ways we fail to do what God has commanded for our spiritual health or the renewal of our communities. We make commitments and then bemoan our inability to keep them. We vow to read the Bible and do our devotions every day, but instead we cram all the readings into one frantic morning a week. Pretty soon our lack of initiative feels hopeless, and we give up trying altogether. On the one hand, it's important that we don't take ourselves too seriously or become legalistic about this whole faith thing. The last thing we want is a kind of works righteousness mentality in which we try to win God's approval by doing good deeds. And if we fail to keep that up, we're afraid God will be furious and punish us. If we ever reach that state, it's important to take a step back and say, okay, stop. This isn't about what I do for God, but what God has already done for me. Because Jesus lived a sinless life and died on our behalf, says the Apostle Paul, we have freedom from the bondage of religious legalism. Jesus is our righteousness. But this doesn't mean we become spiritual slugs either. Over the centuries, Christians have identified several spiritual practices or intentional behaviors that bring us into the presence of God and help us grow. These include prayer, Bible study, worship, solitude, silence, fasting, all of which Jesus himself did during the course of his life and ministry. These practices are also known as spiritual disciplines. Not because they're some kind of punishment, but because this is what disciples or followers do. In the end, we don't practice the spiritual disciplines because we're trying to make God happy, like yet another form of religious legalism. We practice them because they draw us closer into a personal relationship with the living God. So, saints, discipleship or legalism? It's hard to tell the difference sometimes, isn't it? Sometimes really disciplined people look a lot like people who are following all the laws and following all the rules. What is the difference? I think maybe an example will help. We were all familiar with the Ten Commandments. And even right now in Connect, our kids are learning the Ten Commandments. Are those laws? Or are those disciplines? It depends, doesn't it? I mean, the command about coveting is a command that we not desire what belongs to someone else. And we could take that as a law, as a rule that has to be followed or else we'll be punished. And if that's our attitude, then what we're going to do is do our best not to feel desire for something that doesn't belong to us. And if we do feel it, we're going to pretend we don't. And we're going to not act on it. We're going to hide it. That's the way that we follow the law. But if it's a discipline, if it's something about how we see what belongs to our neighbor and we see what belongs to ourselves, then it's really about our attitude. It's about our heart. When I desire what belongs to my neighbor, that draws lines between us, doesn't it? It begins this cycle of envy and enmity, and it drives us apart from each other. And so the punishment is built right in to what I'm doing. It's not because I broke the law that I'm being punished. It's because my heart is turned in the wrong direction that my life goes where I don't want it to go. So discipline is really about turning ourselves in the right direction so that we can draw closer to God. The disciples drew closer to Jesus by following in his footsteps, by imitating their rabbi and doing what they saw him do. Disciplines help us reorient ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our directions, so that we can move toward God. Laws really just try to keep us in line within certain boundaries, because if we go outside them, then we'll get punished. Discipleship is God's desire. Legalism is, it's a poor plan B at best. Saints, this Lenten season, I encourage you to think about the disciplines that might bring you closer to God, that might help you follow Jesus' path better. And if those things feel legalistic to you, if they feel like something that you're only doing in order to not get in trouble, then don't do them. But consider what you could be doing that will help you get closer to God. That's your devotional this week, and hope it's helpful and worth thinking about. I hope you're doing well, staying healthy. I'll be praying for you, saints. Keep praying for me, and I'll see you again soon. Y'all take care.